Love between humans is just not easy. And without great examples or education about emotions, communication, sex, and what keeps love alive, it's too easy to be disheartened, settle, or give up on what you want most. I believe you can have the love and intimacy you want. And having coached thousands of people on their love lives for over 20 years, I know what love can be for you. So I'm bringing you people who share vulnerably about their dating and relationship struggles and how they learn to create the most connected, fulfilling, and exciting love and sex of their lives, so you can have it too. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Practicing Love. Have the best love and sex of your life after 40. I am thrilled to be here today to talk in maybe a little broader terms, or we're going to see where this goes, around love in general, and what is it to love, and how do we actually love, and maybe even what keeps us from loving, or how we move through the blocks to love and have more of it. So Shaun, Emerson, thank you so much for being here today and being willing to have this conversation.
Yeah, good to be with you, as always.
Thank you. So Shaun is the developmental lead for Men Living, which has a vision of healthy, intentional, connected men. You lead groups, and you've been, is it 6 years that men have been gathering in these groups?
Yeah, we're into our 6th year. Yeah, so we do about 450 virtual meetings a year and 50 plus in-person meetings. So we're bringing hundreds of guys together on an annual basis.
So good.
Yeah.
And I imagine that one of the things that you are imparting is how to love and what love is, and right? Is that a conversation you have?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about bringing together an army of strong men with love in their hearts to go forward and change the world. So not only do we come together in these spaces, but once we're in here kind of making things better for ourselves, let's go outside and help others. So yeah,
I love that. Will you say that again? Bringing together an army of men,
strong men with love in their hearts to go change the world.
Beautiful. I like bringing army and men and love in their hearts together.
Well, some people, they object to the army thing. They're like, "Oh, change the army thing." But I think it doesn't always have to necessarily be a negative connotation. I mean, I think it's about, if we want to create change, and a lot of society conditionally creates a structure. If we want to create change, we might have to be a little bit more aggressive about it. And so, but we want to do it in a loving way.
Maybe even aggressive, right? We can let's be aggressively loving.
Right?
So, okay, you to me seem like a special being where love for you has been something, it sounds like it's always made sense to you. It's always been something you've wanted to do, tried to do, a foundation of your life. Is that true?
I think so. I mean, it's we can get to a definition of what that is, and everybody might have a different perspective on what love is. But yeah, I would say it's center for sure.
Okay, and what's your perspective or definition? What is it for you?
It always feels like it's goodness, respect, goodwill, kindness. That's kind of at the heart of it. I also think there's an aspect of it that is, there's non-attachment aspect to it too. I think that's really important. And then, can you create a baseline of that in relationships? And then certainly as you get to particular relationships, they're going to be more intense relationships. But, the baseline.
But how do you create that baseline? Yeah. I mean, that's a big one, because I think about how I was raised and the examples I saw around me. There was not always kindness or respect or any kind of that foundation, nor did any of those people talk about non-attachment. I mean, that was not something I was raised around too. I'm like, were you raised in a spiritual community?
No, I'm picking that one up along the way.
Okay.
But think about it. But there's almost this specialness to it. And it's like, I was thinking today that, think about all the shows or movies, rom-coms or whatever, and the L word. Did you say it? Did you not say it? And it becomes the center. And but what if that was just normalized? And so it's like,
Yeah.
and so it's not so much about that as being a basis for engagement, but yes, that's how you feel about everyone you meet. And then you get
Yep.
into a relationship. Okay, what's this relationship going to be like? But
Right.
all,
If that was the foundation, I mean, I can see many reasons why people would say, I can't do that. No way. That's ridiculous. Right. And I am like you, I am a believer in love. And that's like my mission is to be, as much love as I can in the world. That's all I want to do, really.
right.
So, like, how do you practice? Yeah.
Well, wait, so I have to ask you then. Okay, if
Okay.
that is your mission,
Yeah.
uh, what does love mean to you then? What
Mm.
is making that happen? Is it different than my definition?
No, I think it's very similar. I think it's like that kind of kindness, generosity, warmth, care, curiosity, humility, like not thinking I know the right way and my way is right and your way is wrong. Um, and I like the non-attachment piece too, because there's something for me around, I've been divorced and my ex and I are still co-parenting our kid and we're trying to do it with as much love as we can for each other. And we are now friends and we've been able to respect each other enough that, we're not demonizing each other or blaming or shaming each other. We're looking at it from a perspective of, okay, we weren't a fit for, that kind of relationship, but that doesn't mean we have to throw it all out, be rude, be obnoxious, right? We can
Yeah,
actually bring love.
because relationships are complicated,
Yes.
right? I mean, complicated. So you start with love as a basis, or respect and kindness, goodwill, and then you say, okay, how intense is a particular relationship going to be, and what's involved in that, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So, okay. So question I have for you then is you're saying you start with that.
mhm.
Would you say you start with that whether you feel it or not, or is it based in a feeling? Is it based in an action?
So you talked about practicing it, if you will. So one of the ways that I've just gotten into a good mindset around it is meditation, is just
Mhm.
being able to sit and say, okay, what's important, what isn't important. But also looking at another human being and being, particularly with men living over the last 6 years, being in constant contact with other human beings. It's like, this is the best thing. I mean, this is the best thing to be alive, is to be engaged with another human being, despite it can be ugly and tough and what have you. But if everybody I meet, I'm meeting them with some perspective of respect and kindness, and goodwill, then then it's okay. Then we'll see what emerges from that. But
Mm. So
um,
it sounds like you have a trust that something good would emerge.
uh, I'm going in optimistic, if you will. So
Uh-huh.
rather than, well, every situation I got to be leery of what you might
Right.
be looking for. I'm going to go in and say, okay, this is another human being, and
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I've met a couple men recently. Actually, one of them might have even been my partner, where we were talking about the danger that sometimes men feel out in the world, especially, these days. And yes, women feel danger. People of other genders feel danger in that many ways too.
right.
But the particular danger of I could harm someone, or I could be seen as attempting to harm someone, even if I'm not harming someone, that could create a whole big thing. Um, so as we're talking about that kind of optimism, I'm noticing that there are men in my life or men who I've met who are afraid to be optimistic because they don't want to let their guard down in a certain way because that could, ruin their careers, ruin their lives.
So I'm curious in what way, in the sense of ruin, like let's take ruining a career.
Like if as a man you were to say something kind to a woman, let's say in the workplace, could that be misconstrued, right? Or how do we, I mean, maybe there's how would we bring love to that situation? And we can always meet a situation with love. That doesn't mean everything's going to turn out rainbows and butterflies or be easy.
No, for sure. But I would rather start with that. And, because what's the option? I mean, and we may have talked about this before. I mean, two conversations. One's a love conversation, or we're in a fear conversation. And that is, so I'm going to live my life in fear that I can't love you because in the sense of I define it, because that could be sexual harassment. Because you say, okay, I like the way your hair looks. And
yeah. You're not willing to live in that kind of fear world, it sounds like, or conversation.
No. And and would love to have some impact in changing, if in fact that is the world we're living in. How do we correct that?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things to think about here. One of the things I've worked with couples on and had in my own relationships is that question of, are we in fear or are we in love? And can we be willing to risk letting this relationship go? Can we be not attached to this so that we can find the true form, or we can each show up as ourselves, knowing like, hopefully we're going to stay together.
Yeah.
But maybe we won't.
But that's a thing, right? I mean, that's a potential outcome. So can you just know that that's a potential outcome, and as difficult as it might be, that's the outcome.
So do you do that in your romantic relationship?
I've tried to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to.
And any moments or stories of how you do that?
Well, one, I'm not always great at it, despite trying to have this baseline or foundation. Sometimes the baseline gets out of whack. Right. Yeah. It's simple. I want to call it simple. I think sometimes talking about things like, you do that. I mean, you do this in the book. I mean, talking about self-awareness and communication and trying to regulate yourself as much as you can in those engagements are really important. It seems so basic, but again, coming with a foundation of love and then having a mindset about those and a level of compassion and empathy for the other person to say, what are they really going through? Because I'm not a mind reader, but I can still be open to what's happening there. And then not making it all about me. I mean, so I think those are things that are really, important to always be thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds very loving to me in the way you're describing that if you're coming together, say with your partner, and you may not agree, but you don't have to be disrespectful, or you may not understand, but you could still be empathetic, or you may be upset.
Yeah. Well, and as you know, is it about being in relationship, or is it about being right and winning? I mean, which one makes the most, which one's most important to you?
Would you say that's part of your practice of loving, is letting go of the need to be right?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
big time. And I have to catch myself sometimes, and I'm not even close to always good at it.
What do you do when you catch yourself?
Either try to reframe what I'm saying, or is apologize or backtrack and try to be clear in how I communicate what I'm trying to communicate.
Yeah. So you don't just leave it. You don't just drop it and say, well, hopefully that'll pass.
Yes.
You actually come back around and you address it and you communicate about it.
Well, because I think that if there's something in between, then that relationship is going to suffer because there's something in the middle. So, for me, one of the worst things is when there's something drives me crazy is something in between me and another person that's impacting our ability to connect in whatever way
Yeah.
that means.
Yeah. And I'm just so I'm seeing if I'm getting this right. To me, when I think of something in between, it's like there's something unsaid, or there's something one of us did that disappointed the other or hurt each other's feelings, or we're feeling angry about, and it's just kind of sitting there like the elephant in the room, or maybe not even like an elephant, but like a thin film or something where we're not as connected anymore. We're not as loving toward each other
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be huge, right? I mean, it can even be a little thing, but it's still there. And it's,
Yeah.
um, the pea underneath the mattress. But it can be big too, which can make it harder sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I want to check in and see, are we going in the direction you thought we were going to go in? Or are
That's
there
the better
things that
question.
you,
That's the better question for you. It's your show, but yeah.
well, I guess I'm curious if there are things about the practice of love or loving humanity that you want to talk about.
Um, yeah, I guess um, I will bring this up as a conversation and for a couple of reasons is to understand where people are at with this concept and also to think about, okay, if we talk about it enough, maybe people will, after the conversation, sit and will wait, could I really do that? And what impacts my ability not to feel that for everyone I meet?
Yeah.
And uh, and maybe
Can
some
you
good.
get a little more specific for people? Like when you say, could I really do that? You want people to think about, could I be more loving?
Yeah. I mean, with every, to think about the fact that even though you might not know someone, even in the smallest interaction, can you look at it in a loving way, and the
Mm.
sense that we're human beings, and then maybe experience something from that is pretty cool,
Yeah.
even in those littlest engagements. And so,
Yeah.
because but it goes down to what is the definition of that? What is the definition of loving?
Well, okay, even before we get to the definition, when I think about what you just said, and if I walk into the grocery store, or if I'm driving a car and somebody cuts me off, or any situation, I could look at another person through the eyes of love and, hey, we're both human. We probably are both struggling, maybe in similar ways, maybe in very different ways, right? But I could look through the eyes of compassion and love and care, or I could look through the, you're fucking in my way, you're annoying
Yes,
me, right?
right.
You're not serving my
Yeah,
needs.
yes. This is goofy shit, but I walk a lot outside, and every person that I walk by, I say either good morning or good afternoon or hello, or just as a practice of the smallest engagement.
Yeah.
And it's funny how many times I get nothing back. And people could have their AirPods in, they could be thinking about something or whatever, um, but it's also interesting the surprise by so many people that I do that small little thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that there's, it's the butterfly batting their
Effect.
wings. Yeah, I think that there's some validity to that perspective. And
Yeah.
so, if
That the more of us that actually do it, the more of us who flap our wings,
yeah,
the more change can
yeah,
happen.
yeah. I mean,
I love that vision.
because that person said, hey, that person said hello to me on my walk today. What's that all about? And they think about it and they do it with somebody else or whatever, then
Right. Maybe I'm going to go
that's,
home and be nicer to my partner or have more compassion for someone else.
it's a little thing, but yeah, that's part of the practice for me.
Yeah. Beautiful. Are there things that get in your way, or it sounds to me like you have a very strong commitment. So even if something could get in your way, it seems like you are transcending that in order to bring more love. But are there moments where you're like, ugh, I don't feel like it, or I feel grumpy, or I feel scarce, or
Yeah. And it's funny. I feel that the baseline is off, and I kind of know that the baseline is off, and it could be a variety of different things. I mean, it could just be tired. Something's not going my way. Something is disappointing. Somebody else is hurting, and so it's harder to have something's in affecting the baseline. Um, and so being aware of that and being able to reset.
That's the practice, is
Yeah.
that you actually can reset so you can feel all the sensations, the feelings, that whatever's there. And it sounds like you reset to choose love or choose doing better.
Or joy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so much, right? It's so much better. It feels so good.
Yeah.
Or not.
It does feel better. Yeah. No, I mean, I just know there are moments where I get kind of twisted up inside myself, but I have enough capacity now from meditation and things like that, that I usually, instead of reacting to someone, I will just pause and kind of go internal and reset, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not always easy to get out of that internally at times, but I can still act externally with love.
Right. So I'm curious, is there something like that would happen for you regularly that would offset your baseline for what?
Oh, like parenting?
I was going to say, is that well,
Yeah,
I mean, but you have a 12-year-old, right?
13 now,
13
yeah.
now. And so my kids are older. And so,
Yeah.
but yes, there's some memories where I can understand that it's tougher. I mean, you're in the midst of it right now. And if you're thinking about it in the midst of it, because I wasn't thinking about this as much back then. No. Yeah, it can help, right? Yeah.
It does. I mean, it helps. My kid and I had a little scuffle the other morning, and she didn't want to get out of bed to go to basketball. And I was like, we had already agreed that you were going to get up and go. And we just had it was just this moment where we were both not very loving.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as the adult, feel like, I should be the one to model being loving.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did come back around and say, I'm sorry that I was not very loving. And actually, to her credit, she made this amazing joke out of it. She's like, yeah, I was totally calm that whole time. And, I did a great job. And I was like, oh, yeah, me too. I was totally,
So she was kind of picking up on it.
Oh, yeah, we both. Yeah. But, and it took us maybe a day or so. And then we came back around and we could both say, that wasn't my best. That wasn't, I wasn't very loving in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Which is the practice, right?
Exactly. I guess that's for me. It's like, I know I'm not going to always get it right, but I am consistently practicing. And if I do something like that, I notice like, oof, that was not what I wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think where the practice falls off in any relationship, or even just the concept of, okay, how can I gauge everyone from a position of love is just the ego. I mean, do I need to be right? Am I afraid? And
what am I afraid of?
And what am I afraid? Yeah. And those are the things that really, I think, disrupt our ability to do it.
Yeah. And what would it be like to be able to say, I notice I'm feeling afraid of X right now, instead of acting it out, lashing it out. But again, when I look at how I grew up and the examples that I had of the older generation, I don't think many of them had the capacity to be able to say, oh, I'm actually afraid right now. That's why I'm lashing out.
Right.
So that creates an issue.
Well, and definitely most dudes are not up for that either. I mean, even just having even have a conversation about love is just, that word is very
sappy.
Yeah. Yeah. And comes with everybody. I mean, a whole bunch of different definitions. And And as men, primarily, love equates to sex often.
Mm,
So it's
yeah.
like, that's what you're talking about, right? Because everything else doesn't really matter, does it? So, um, yeah, it particularly in the circles we're in, as we talk about it, it makes it for an interesting conversation because it's all the conditioning we still have to get through.
Yeah. Anything you want to say to everybody, but maybe especially men on that? Like, how have you broken through that conditioning, or what helps you?
I think I think it's just can you get to that self awareness and self confidence to just be who you're going to be,
Mm.
and that's I mean that can be really hard because
What do you mean by be who you're going to be?
the idea that particularly as it relates to the conditioning of being a man or a woman. I mean, what our conditioning is that we grow up with socially. It says that this is the way you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be strong, and you're not supposed to be emotional, and all these other things. And if you're like, well, I'm not strong, and I'm gonna be emotional. Can you be okay with that?
Mm.
And in particular situations, suffer the consequences if people that you're around aren't going to accept you for that. Can you? So I
Yeah.
think it's a self confidence that has to. I mean, I tell this story. I mean, so I'm 61, and for 40 years I've carried a purse. What I call a purse. Somebody might call it a man bag because they
Man
don't want to
bag,
call
man
it a
purse,
purse
man. Yeah.
because but
Immerse
it's a purse.
the
No, it
purse.
doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be gendered,
Yeah.
Shayna, right? Because it
Yeah.
is. It's a
Totally.
bag. It's a
It's a
bag
bag.
because it's so freaking practical. It's so, I mean, when I was a kid, my mom had what back then was a pocketbook, and my
Yeah.
dad didn't. I'm like, why don't you have a pocket?
Why?
Why don't you have a pocketbook? And I'm like, I'm getting a pocketbook. So, it's just, can we be comfortable as men, um, and, being who we're going to be, and
Yeah.
having the confidence that, we don't have to follow those
Those norms,
conditions.
those cultural conditions, the box, right? You don't have to stay inside the box. And I think
Yep.
that's important for all of us, for all people of all genders. Like, do we really have to, how can we be loving to ourselves first
Yep.
and not force ourselves to be someone we're not?
Yep.
And then how can we actually be loving toward others and make room for others and their expression, even if it's not how we would do it?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have one last word of wisdom or tip for how to? I love what you said. Hold on, I wrote this down. Like, how to engage everyone from a position of love.
I, I don't. I think curiosity is a big part of it. It's like, and the curiosity of meeting another human being and what they might be all about and what they bring to a conversation in a first meeting and how that can be really enriching for my life. And so when I think about all the different people I meet every day and how unique they are and how interesting they are and in their own way, that ends up being better for my life. So I guess, part of it is curiosity that I would add to the love definition.
Yeah.
Um, and
I think
so,
that's a big part of my definition of love and being loving and practicing love is being curious.
yeah,
Because otherwise, if we're rigid about what we know and who we are, there's no room for dialogue or permeability or intimacy in there. And I think oftentimes we get less and less curious about people over time, I was going to say, but also strangers. Like I notice I've got those snap judgments
yeah,
about people and who they are and whether they're going to be, someone who I connect with or not. And then can I actually let that go, noticing that, and then engage, like you said,
yeah,
from love.
yeah. And I would say that I'm not going to be in relationship with everyone. I mean, I can still love them, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be in relationship with them the same
Yeah.
way I am with my wife or my kids or my closest friends or the next friends out. So that's all the strength of those relationships is going to be different.
Yeah.
But if I can have love as the foundation for all of it, I think I'm winning if I'm doing that.
Yeah, I love that. That definitely resonates with my, right, why I started the podcast. Like,
Right.
how do we practice love and how do we have more of it? Because life, I think for most of us, life is more enjoyable when we have more of it.
I couldn't agree more. Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Yep.
And how do people find Men Living and all the work that you're doing?
Yeah, menliving.org. And my email address is Shaun at menliving.org, SHAUN, if people want to reach me directly. I do a podcast as well, and I'm not sure where this is airing, but we do one with Shayna that you're going to want to look up if you've come this far with my friend Chris Lozier. So yeah,
Awesome.
thanks.
Thank you so
Always a
much.
pleasure.
I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Practicing Love. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and gained insight into yourself and your current and past relationships and inspiration for what's possible. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe and write a quick review to help people find us. If you'd like more support in your love life, be sure to get your free copy of my best-selling book, Honest Sex, at shanajamescoaching.com/free. That's shanajamescoaching.com/free. And we'll see you next time.